Steadfast. That is the driving theme and point of being steadfast in Christ. 2 Thessalonians. We're in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 16, which reads, "Now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times in every way. The Lord be with you all." God himself, the Lord of peace, Jesus, the Prince of Peace, Jesus, who is our peace, Jesus, whose peace is, as Colossians 3 says, is to dwell richly in us, as the Word dwells richly in us, but that the peace of Christ would act even as a referee in our hearts and in our lives. That it would drive. It would drive. In fact, let me show you in Colossians 3 and what it says about the peace of Christ. Besides the word of Christ, it says this in Colossians 3 and verse 15, "And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful." Ruling there is acting as a referee, as an arbiter. And when you get to 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 and you see this prayer that Paul preaches, now may the Lord of peace, he's preaching it, he's praying this prayer, "Now may the Lord of peace himself," Jesus, the Prince of Peace, "give you peace at all times and in every way." It's interesting, he says at all times and in every way. So it's like a double whammy of goodness. It's like just being drenched with the peace of God. And it's from Jesus himself. In fact, it ends with, "May the Lord be with you all." Because the peaceful church rests in the presence of God, in Christ himself, who is our life, who is our peace, who is our adequacy, who is our sufficiency. But I want you to notice with me two phrases in this verse. The Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times and in every way. At all times is a prayer that there would be no break in the peace that comes flowing from Christ. That there would be no stoppage, no blockage, that there would be no hindrance to that peace. That it would be at all times. But then he says, in every way. So at all times, there would be no break in the flow of Christ's peace, but that the prevailing peace, the prevalence of that peace would continue no matter what the circumstance, in every way. When you're stressed, when you're pushed beyond the limits, when you're provoked, when you are tempted, when you are downcast, when you are going through a dark night of the soul, when you are frustrated, when you are in a quandary, when you're in an argument, when you're having trouble with your spouse or your kids or your coworkers or your friends. So may the Lord of peace himself, may Jesus, Prince of Peace, grant you or give you peace. Say it. Now, go back to Colossians with me. Peace of Christ ruling in your hearts. So he gives you the peace, and then it ought to rule. And really, this idea of at all times and in every way is the idea of the ruling of the peace. That it would just overarchingly be a part of your life. Now, I want to take you back to the Old Testament just momentarily. Shalom is the Hebrew word for peace. And God grants his people peace. The prayer in the Old Testament often was, "May God grant you peace." And even my Hebrew professor, Dr. Rigsby, when I was in seminary back in the 1980s, he would come into the class and say, "Shalom, gentlemen." And shalom is a very pithy, deep, perfect word. It's an idea. And it means a deep sense of all is well because God is sovereign. It's a deep, abiding sense of everything's going to be okay because God is in control. And if you think about the peace of Christ that breaks down every barrier to your relationship with the Lord, the peace that passes our understanding, you see this prayer that God's going to just shower you with peace, that he would shower you with peace. But it's in the midst of all the times you're living in and all the situations you're in. So this is not like only when you're got everything worked out, or only when you feel like you've got life wired, that one momentary, time where you feel like, oh, everything's okay right now. And the next thing you know, things fall apart. No, but you would have peace in the midst of a storm. You have peace in the midst of a trial. You would have peace in the midst of the thing that rips your heart, the thing that's the most painful, and peace in the midst of the highest elation and joy. There would be this deep, abiding sense of all is well and will be well because Jesus Christ is Lord.